name's Kylie Savidge and I have lived here on Southampton all of my life. Southampton's beef cattle property of 11,000 hectares, 110 k's northwest of St George, sort of in the middle of nowhere but not quite, and it's been in our family since 1923. Yes, we've been drought declared since 2013, but it's been 7 years and obviously the effect has been ongoing. It's a bit like a domino effect. Once it starts, everything just keeps following along, and so financially, you know, we're starting to get out at the end of what we can manage without getting ourselves into huge amounts of debt that are almost impossible to pay back, and but at the moment we're managing, and that's due to probably not being overstocked, keeping our numbers down and maintaining our country, you know, not letting it get heavily reinfested with regrowth, and you know, being vigilant with keeping an eye on our cattle and making sure that they've got the right supplements required to keep on doing what they do, which is breed beef cattle weaners straight for Roma market. Well, I'd like to think so, but you know, it's just maintaining what we have, and because we're mulga country, we're harvesting mulga to feed our cattle, and we're always improving. Like you know, you've got new drains in to run water and you're keeping them clean, and you know, when you're cutting your scrub, you're not cutting it off at knee height, you're cutting it off and letting it only cut halfway through so that the tree stays alive and hopefully grows a little bit of self-serve mulga for the next drought. But there's not a lot you can do to prepare for the next drought whilst you're still in drought, because you can't foresee how long it's going to go for. So it's just a case of maintaining what you have to the best of your ability, and being reasonable about it, you know, not being getting too excited about, you know, what the next season's going to do. Right now it's getting through the season we're in. Yeah, indeed there is. We lock up all our mulga country so the cattle aren't in there. Not that they're going to go and eat mulga when there's grass on the ground, but it's locking up those paddocks so that you have the ability to open it up. It's like a living haystack, and let's face it, you can't buy hay and store it for an indefinite period of time, and it's a bit of a, I don't know, a blessing if you want to call it that, that you can have this resource that is edible and your cows like it, and they, you know, they're quite happy to eat it. You go and cut a tree down, they'll be there to chew it all up for you. But so you cut that country off from them until you require it. It goes back to maintaining the land that you have, keeping the regrowth back to a, you know, minimal level, improving your country by fencing it off and resting paddocks so that you can, instead of chewing stuff right to the ground and then going, oh, what are we going to do now, we can then go, oh, we'll shift that mob to the next paddock and let that paddock regenerate a little bit.
So do you have any threats to your pastures?
We do, and that our biggest threat to our pastures is our kangaroo numbers, and kangaroos can eat off grass a lot quicker than cattle can because they graze right down at the bottom, whereas cattle need 4 to 6 inches to wrap their tongue around. So maintaining or managing the kangaroo numbers that you have on your place is really important, because they can eat you out of house and home and leave you in a drought that might not actually be a drought because it has rained, but they've just cleaned up most of your grass. Well, I guess it comes back to common sense. We don't all have the same strategy. Like the strategy that works for us here is not maybe going to work for the next door neighbour or the person 60 k's down the road. But for us, it's keeping an eye on things and making sure that, okay, things are starting to get dry. The weather forecast doesn't look like it's going to be very promising for the next little while. What do we need to do? Right, we might need to up our mineral supplement to the cattle. We might need to add a little bit extra protein into their lick. We might need to start adding molasses. We might need to buy cottonseed up in preparation to feed through a winter. It's that sort of stuff that you think, okay, well, things aren't looking very promising. Let's start, shoring up what we've got so that we can hopefully get through to when it is going to rain, and in winter while you're looking for early spring rain. I'd like to think that people in the city would take a moment to think about what we do and realise that all of us in the rural industry in Australia we take pride in our product that we produce. We like to produce it to the best of our ability, and to be doing it in a way that says, here we are providing for you the best you're going to find anywhere in the world. Don't go overseas for it. Stay here, because our products are invaluable to us, and they should be to the majority of Australians, because if you sit down and have a meal at night, who provides that for you? Doesn't matter if it's in a restaurant or if it's at home, but somewhere, someone has put thought into what you're putting on your plate. We're resilient, and I think that you have to be able to cope with what the seasons throw at you. Don't think that the minute things get hard for us that we're going, hey, what about me? We want money, because that's not it. We don't want to get a handout. We just want people to understand that at the moment it is tough, because no one can predict how long your drought's going to go for. Is it 2 years? Well, maybe 2 years is more manageable than 5. 5 years is more manageable than 7. And then maybe in 3 years' time I'll be telling you that 7 years was more manageable than 10. So, we're not running around saying we want help. We just want people to understand that, we're doing our best, but there's only so much you can do before your season really stops you from being able to do anything at all.